Hi, everybody. Welcome to our very first video. Yay.
Hi, welcome, and thanks, Cindy, for having me. I'm so glad to be joining the dual coaching. So excited to see all of you guys. Yes.
So excited to be getting started. Hopefully by now you've all gone in and you've all done the spreadsheet to figure out how many listings you need to be doing in order to meet your goals this month. And for a lot of people, that's a shocking number. When you actually run it, you're like, I need to list how many?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that moment.
Me too. And when you skip a day, then that goal just gets bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we're going to give you some tips and tricks this month so that you don't have to list quite that many. We can increase some conversion rates, raise some ASPs, that sort of thing. But now that we have that number, we want you hitting those goals every single day without fail. But we don't want you necessarily listing the same way that you've always been listing.
That's right.
So in this video, we want to go through just the basics of how to create the perfect listing to appease the algorithm.
And that's what it is. We want to sacrifice for the eBay gods and the Poshmark gods and all those gods.
To the e-commerce, we put our listings out there to the e-commerce gods. So these basic principles will apply to Poshmark and Mercari and Etsy and all of those other platforms. The basis of the algorithms for those platforms are the same as eBay's. So start us off, Monica. Where do we start on a listing?
Let's see. The title.
Title!
Yay.
So I should just put pretty pink shirt.
No, because that's not how people search. They search by, just think of how you search. I think when the title, someone's thinking of a title, especially when you're newer, you start to think too specifically, and you will get there. But how do you search? Okay, I'm looking for some jeans. It's my favorite pair of jeans. It's frame. Okay, frame 27. Let's say that's what I'm looking for. So the brand and the size.
So yeah, so where you can figure out those are called those predictive keyword phrases.
Yes.
Predictive search. So you can go to eBay and eBay will tell you how to write your title. That's what I love about this. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to figure this out on your own. You can go directly to eBay and figure it out. You can start. I always use Coldwater Creek. You know, I love my Coldwater Creek.
I do.
So I always use Coldwater Creek as the example because I know it quite well. If you go to eBay on just their regular homepage and you start typing in Coldwater Creek, it wants to autofill for you the next words. So your first 4 to 5 keywords in a title are called your primary keywords. Everything after that is referred to as a secondary keyword. The more closely you match exactly what the buyer types in within your primary keywords, the higher you rank in search. Yeah. So if you start typing in Coldwater Creek, you're going to see that it wants to autofill for you. What does it want to autofill next? The size. Generally speaking, that's a 2X.
Yes.
So it's generally Coldwater Creek. And then if you type in 2X for it, it gives you the item. So it's going to be on February 1st, it's probably going to say Coldwater Creek 2X sweater. What we generally see with clothing is brand, size, item. And then everything after that becomes a secondary.
And it's so, if you're not exactly getting it, it's when you are in search and you type in in case someone's unsure what predictive search is. When you're in search and you're typing in a brand, you will see what eBay wants to autofill. You'll see a list down under your search. And it might be like Coldwater Creek 2X and then Coldwater Creek XL, and then it goes down. So you can kind of see just in that little window the most popular search from top to bottom by how it wants to autofill. So as you keep looking for comps and doing research, you're going to start to remember, what I always say, that brand matters, but so does size. Size does matter. Doesn't mean I pass on a small size, doesn't mean I always grab a bigger size, but it may, the size may be it may be something that I won't pick up based on how much I'm paying for it.
Yes.
So that size
100%.
does matter.
Yes, because a Coldwater Creek small is not the same as a Coldwater Creek 2X.
Right.
In fact, I pass on 90% of Coldwater Creek smalls, and I buy 90% of Coldwater Creek 2Xs.
And soft surroundings is another one that's good for that. Doesn't mean I won't pick up a small soft surroundings, but what I'm willing to pay for that small is going to be different than what I'm willing to pay for an XL, a 1X, beaded. Oh, you know, like the bigger beaded embroidered. Yes. So.
Yeah, so we want to be using that predictive search, and it doesn't work just with clothing. It will work with electronics or stuffed animals, any sort of item. You want to go to eBay and use that predictive search, because that's going, even if you're listing that item on Poshmark, because that same predictive search is going to work for Google, for SEO, for Poshmark, for all of those things. So making sure that within those primary keywords, you're getting the best words that buyers are searching for.
Right. And a good homework activity might be pick 5 brands that you've maybe have had a little more success in selling, and go to the predictive search and see what is coming up that eBay, Google, Poshmark is trying to autofill for you.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
To see.
Yeah, to make sure that you're setting your titles up the right way. Now, one question that I get a lot is, do you use women's or men's in the title? And I always say, well, first off, in brands like Coldwater Creek, women's isn't necessary because they don't sell men's.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. But again, I go back to that predictive search. So if I'm selling Timberland boots sell equally in women's and in men's. So within that predictive search, I'm going to see the word women's come up. Jeans are often the same way. I'm going to see women's and men's come up within that predictive search. So now I know that that's an important primary keyword. If it's not an important primary keyword, if I'm not seeing it in predictive search, then I'll put it at the end if I have room. It's not an important word.
Yeah.
So making sure that we're setting up those titles correctly.
And with eBay, you have so many more characters versus like Posh. I think Posh is 40 or maybe 50, but eBay is 80. So you do have those filler words that you can add. And exactly like you said, if there's space, you don't want to leave spaces. You're paying for that listing one way or another. Even if you have free listings, obviously you're paying for a stored subscription. So I see that title as real estate. You want to maximize it, even with, like, say, a white t-shirt. Sometimes people are like, well, I can't think of enough supporting keywords to fulfill the 80 characters. But think of the fabric, the size, the style, the cut, the color, the neckline, the gender. There's so many things you can add.
So generally, you can fill it all. Yeah, absolutely. So then we've got our perfect, beautiful title. We've got all 80 characters filled out, and it looks awesome. So now we are on to, what do we do next? Pictures. Picture pages. So you want to have as many pictures as necessary to show the buyer exactly what they're getting.
Yes.
So how many pictures do you usually have for, say, a shirt?
I usually do 6. I usually try to have 5 at the minimum, but 6.
So, and give us the rundown.
So for a shirt, for example, and really for pants, for dresses, really anything, it's that first photo, which you want the item to be the majority of the shot. So like if it's this shirt, like you don't want it to be a bunch up here where it's not the shirt and a bunch on the sides. You really want to get that centered. The front, the side, and then a close-up so they can see what the fabric is like. because even within fabrics, there's different textures. Like there's different silk blends, there's different like rayon viscose blends. So try to get a close-up of the fabric, so the front, the side, the close-up of the fabric, the back, and then I've been doing the tag. So I do use a mannequin. So basically when I'm on the last picture, which is the back, I'll just flip over so they can see what the tag is like. So say it's St. John. Don't we wish we had a million St. Johns? But a lot of people within their brands, they know which is the current tag. So if I were to say St. John, well, there's different kinds of St. John. There's collection Mary Gray. There's just regular St. John. There's St. John caviar. There's St. John just regular collection. So you can answer that by just showing the tag. Something like a malt brand like Banana Republic or J. Crew, you can tell which is the current tag, the current season, and the newer piece by showing the tag. So that I feel is really important.
Yeah. And we always do our first picture sideways, and everyone always asks, why are all your pictures sideways?
Yeah.
And, that is truly because somebody once told me I couldn't sell anything if all of my pictures were sideways. And it's
stubborn Cindy. Got to prove them wrong. So 60,000 items, 70,000 items later.
Yeah, they're just still sideways because then I just got used to doing it.
And that could be like a segue to talk about branding too. Yes. Because I know as soon as I see one of your pictures, it's got the slant. So.
Which has worked really well for us. Now we've had people that have then slanted their pictures and like tried to copy it or whatever, which is fine, whatever, it doesn't matter. But our pictures also have the same mannequin in them. So my buyers know that it's the same mannequin, it's the same background, it's the same slant going the same way. Yeah. All of those things then help brand. I once had a friend who had a gold mannequin. Like she spray painted her mannequin gold. She did great with it, but it was branding.
Yeah.
Because you can no longer put like watermarks, or you can't brand that way. But like you have a very distinctive mannequin.
Yeah. Maria.
Yes. Maria the mannequin.
Yeah.
So that then you know that's your mannequin. So branding can become important if you're selling a lot of the same kinds of items, a lot of the same sizes, brands, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we've got all our pictures, they're nice and clear. If you've got a flaw, you want to take a picture of that flaw, use a pin, a quarter or something to show the size of that flaw, because people do not read.
Right.
Do not read.
And then you'll be protected too, to some degree.
Yes.
If you're taking a picture. I usually take a picture and I notate it. So you're kind of double.
Yeah. So in case you get the INET and when it says, you didn't say, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And it's in the pictures.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So yeah, so now we've got our pictures and we go to the great item specifics.
And there's many now.
And you sit there and you wonder, is Katy Perry the theme of my blue shirt? Or is it Hello Kitty?
Yeah.
Thinking neither. Yeah, so there's a lot of those that just don't. They just don't apply.
Yeah. And obviously you have to fill in the required ones, obviously, the size, the brand, and so forth. And I know with clothing, you do want to fill in as many as you can that are applicable. For example, dresses. The style is the #1 thing people search for. So if it is a wrap dress, a maxi dress, a midi dress, a sheath dress, a pencil dress, a bodycon dress, like a skater dress, I have them all memorized because it's so important. You want to be filling those out. The fabric, obviously the color, the length, the sleeves. Because a lot of people, when they're searching, especially for clothing, they're searching for something really specific, a kimono sleeve blouse, a boat neck top, a peasant top. So you want to make sure that you're putting those in. And I do love the new visual that eBay has where it's got that like ring.
Yes.
And it tells you like, okay, you have done 100% of this little area of the item specifics. Because it does make me feel like, okay, I've given my item the best chance. You know, I've given my item the best chance to rank in search.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that we're getting that blue circle full, if at all possible. Sometimes it's just not.
Yeah.
And you have to, you know, or sometimes you have a dress and you're like, okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have to do your best. I think it's important to remember that you don't want to be typing things in there. So like, let's say you're selling a turquoise blue dress. In the color drop down, you want to select blue.
Yeah.
Don't type in turquoise blue because you just took yourself out of the search for anybody who clicks blue.
Right.
So you want to select what is applicable within the drop down. But if there's nothing there, or there are some that you're just like, no, like, I was doing some jeans one time and they're like 29 just wasn't there. So you have to type something in.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up because I always feel more comfortable when I'm starting. So say like I'm putting in the brand under brand and I'm writing like Saint and I'm about to put the dot and then it autofills. And then so I feel much more comfortable and I always make sure to click on the eBay's one because something like that could be like with or without the dot, let them, you know, select it for you. So when I'm typing 8, but if their 8 comes up, I click on that instead of, like you said, you typing it in.
Yeah, which is another important thing to remember back to your titles. If St. John comes up with a period in the drop down, then it needs a period in the title. If it doesn't have a period in the drop down, then it doesn't get a period in the title because the title then will help the system recognize that it really is a St. John as long as those two match.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're matching eBay's.
And sometimes with something like that, if I have room, I will try to write it both ways in the title. So Saint with the dot, John, and then maybe at the very end, I'll just put the ST because I already have John. Or like All Saints is another one because All Saints is one word, but a lot of people type all space saints. And actually I was one of those until I started, you know, listing it more and knowing that, oh my God, it's one word. Yeah. So if I have room, I try to do both.
Yeah, Chico's is another one. I'll do it with the apostrophe and without the apostrophe. Yeah.
And sometimes eBay does cross-reference. So
how it's supposed to work.
It's supposed to, but it's not 100%. They're also doing some like interpretive cross. Like for example, if I were to type in the color nude, it will give you beige. And then if I type in beige, it will also give me items that come up with the color nude. So, but is it perfect? It's not always perfect. So sometimes that's why in my titles, I may type in nude beige, just so I have them both.
Yeah, because your title isn't a sentence, it's just a string of keywords.
Exactly.
So it may not make any sense at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we want to get as many of those item specifics filled out as we can, but then don't stress the ones that you can't. You know, like you don't have a theme for your sweater, that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that
and you'll know it if you do, you know, like if it's an item that has maybe a goth look or a Victorian, you know, you'll know a 90s look, an 80s punk. But most of the time, I know for me, it doesn't apply.
No, yeah.
I sell boring, run-of-the-mill stuff. It's just
scrolling on by. So yeah, so we want to fill out as many of those as possible. And then we get to our description. Now, I think you and I are doing it the same way. I'm just copying and pasting my title into my description. Is that what you're doing?
I pretty much only put the measurements there under the description.
And the reason why I do it, I copy and paste my title, is because it's supposed to help Google SEO to recognize your item. Because then it is in your listing 3 times. It's in your title, it's in your item specifics, and then in your description, which is going to help you in Google SEO. Assuming that eBay ever pushes items to Google, which they don't always do.
Yeah.
So, but for me, when I do that, then that's in my description, so that when I go over to Poshmark, I'm cross listing, then it's already there. And they do push to Google. So, but yeah, then we're just dropping in measurements. No, I'm going to come to your house and beat you up if you don't pay for this.
No, I will not accept return. A lot of times there's a lot of negative selling in there that I think for me as a buyer turns me off. So a lot of the really, really negative things in there, so many rules. And the end of the day, those aren't going to help you. eBay has its own rules, so you putting things in there, it doesn't really help or not help. I know for the longest time I had, and some of my older listings still have them because I'm not going to go in and delete them all. But going forward, I kind of just been deleting all the little blurb I had at the bottom because it was talking about returns and international shipping. But it's like all that is null and void because it's going to go based on eBay's rules. So I've just been kind of deleting it slowly.
Yeah, same. It just doesn't matter. And people don't read it anyway.
Yeah, they do.
So, most people are buying from their phone, or their search starts off their phone anyway. That text is so small that they're just not reading it.
Yeah.
So then we've got our descriptions, and then we move to pricing.
Fun.
I feel like this is where a lot of people get in trouble.
Yes.
Is with pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always say that you have and I'm guilty of it, you have a romantic relationship with your item, and you're like, this is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. You emotionally invested.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so instead of pricing it at what the market says it's worth, I'm like, no, the market doesn't know. I know.
Yeah.
And then I know I still have it 6 months later.
Right. I know. You should have taken that offer when it came in.
Exactly. But so what tool do you like the best for pricing?
Just the good old fashioned way of checking solds until you are the one that told me about the Check-a-Flip.
Check-a-Flip.
Yeah.
Check-a-Flip is a website, if you're not aware, that you can go to, and you can put any item in, and it will give you the median price sold for that item along with the conversion rate. And you want to be really specific when you're using it, because like we said before, a Coldwater Creek small shirt is not going to be worth as much as a Coldwater Creek 2X shirt. A soft surrounding small plain shirt is not worth as much as a soft surrounding beaded 2X shirt. So you want to be as specific as you can, but then your pricing needs to be pretty much on point with that median value. And that's a hard pill to swallow a lot of times.
Yeah. And that, speaking of the pricing and being romantic or emotionally invested, I think those people that I've noticed are the most successful. They take a lot of offers. And again, not to say you're going to take $1 offer on something. No. We're not saying that. But if you remember this, that when you first list your item, that's the biggest bump it's going to get. That is the premium time to jump on an offer and get that item sold. So knowing that is when you have the biggest bump in search. You really want to think twice about that when you get an offer, because I think especially newer sellers, they think, oh, I got an offer right away. That means it's good. I'm going to wait. Oh, I priced it too low. That means I'm going to wait. And then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, they still have the item. But that doesn't mean you priced it too low a lot of the times. It means you priced it just right. You price it right, you just listed it and you got a bump in search. So take that offer if it is a good offer for you.
So this is the question that I always get. All right, so I go in and I've gone to Check-a-Flip, and it says the median price for my shirt is $20. Do you actually list at $20, or do you list a little bit higher because you know you're going to take an offer, run a sale, run a promotion, whatever?
Yes, yes.
So how much higher do you go if the median price is $20? You.
Me?
You.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I do, and I do the same as you. You and I run our stores very similar, where when we price, we are taking into account that we always have a sale going 24 hours a day, and if it's not going, it's only because it stopped, and we're giving it an hour or two before we start our next one. So I'm always running a 30% off sale. That doesn't mean you have to do 30%. It doesn't mean you have to do 50, 20. You find what that just works for me, and I just never changed it. I think you do like 40 or 30.
You know what? I've backed off since we've gone to new with tags, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So that number is arbitrary. It just that you're keeping it into taking it into consideration. So I'm taking into consideration my sale. I'm taking into consideration that I'm going to do offers to watchers every single day. I'm taking into consideration that I'm also going to get offers. So I usually price about double-ish, me personally.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be a little bit less than that.
Yeah. So maybe a smidge less. Maybe a smidge less.
Yeah. So because if the median price is $20, I'm going to probably list between 30 and 32. So I'm probably, 50% higher than what that median price is. And I think that, it depends on the item also.
Yes.
Because if it's a rare item, if I have, that one-time find, the Hermes sweater, then I don't care what the median price is. I'm going for top dollar. Yeah. But if it is a Coldwater Creek 2X sweater, then I'm banking on the fact that I'm probably going to sell at that median price. And so I want to be a little bit closer to it.
And honestly, I want to feel like the customer feels they're getting a good deal and that I'm getting, a good flip. So like say something, the example of $20, right? So I'll if I'm happy with 20, I price it at 40, but you got to take into account I'm doing my, let's say 32% off. So that's $12.80 off that. That's already, the sale price is going to be $27. Mm-hmm. So now that gives me $7 leeway or wiggle room, negotiation room, for me sending offers still. And when I send offers, I always put a little blurb like, in addition to the 30% off sale, here is a private offer, an additional one-time private offer. And then that customer feels like, wow, it's already on sale and she's sending me an additional offer. And that works for me.
That helps convert. Yeah. So I'm doing the same thing. So I'm not going to be at 40 because my sale price is low. My sale percentage is lower. So our items are immediately going on sale. So we're factoring that in.
Yes. Same.
We're using that Check-a-Flip, and so this week we want you guys to really be looking at Check-a-Flip.
Yeah.
Are you really pricing competitively, or are you pricing yourself into slow sales? Because we've all been there, and no shame, we have all been there.
Yeah.
But the market changes and it fluctuates and things and I think maybe it's even harder for long-time sellers, because I know that shirt sold, a year ago for this, I'm just going to price it at this.
Yeah.
And
when we used to sell Eileen Fisher for always over $40, $50, it was like guaranteed $40, $50 like that. And then now it's not that way anymore. So yes, we have experience, but the market is not stagnant. It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a big fan of checking so after you list the item, I'm a big fan of, obviously we now have good till canceled and they flip over every 30 days, but every single day, and I know I have a lot of items, but and this is much easier to do. There's always pros and cons to having a bigger to a smaller store. The pros of having a smaller store is you can really, doesn't take a lot of time to double check things. So if you're, one of my to-dos in the morning is I look on my Seller Hub and I see how many are ending today. I check that every single morning. So it'll say, let's just say 50 are ending today. So I click on that tab, I click on that link, and it'll show me the 50 that are ending. And then I do a quick eye scan of like, okay, I've had this item for a while, I've had that item for a while, that item for, so then I will start double checking prices. Like, okay, is this price too high? Am I gonna end and sell similar? Am I gonna let it relist? Am I going to clean up the title? Oh, there's the size wrong, or oh, there's this wrong. So
yeah. So we want you this week paying attention to that price though, and seeing, are you pricing competitively? And then, so after we do price, now we have shipping. I don't think either one of us are team free shipping.
no, and we've tried it. I think I was free shipping for about 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
And
it is something that we continually test, and we'll go back and test again, because the market does change. And we do have more new with tags items now in our store, and new with tags items seem to depend on free shipping. It's a different market. And so if you're selling different items, you know, like I would never sell a vintage collectible with free shipping, because that's crazy.
Right. No.
So it does kind of depend on your items, but is your shipping competitive? Is your shipping in line with what your competitors are pricing at for, you know, similar items?
Yeah.
So checking that, and then global shipping.
Yeah, global
Use
shipping.
it. Love it. Do you ship international or direct?
So I offer both. I offer both global shipping and first class international. The only time I don't offer first class international is if the item is really expensive, which I don't have a ton of expensive items. So anything maybe over, like, expensive to me is over $100. Then I will only do global shipping since it's protected. But anything under, I've shipped so many items, and I think I've had maybe 2 or 3 ever get lost. And of course you will have to, you know,
You have to eat it
if you're first class versus global. But I let the customer choose, just because global is really expensive. It's a super expensive. Now, if you haven't done international at all, I would definitely recommend just doing global, so you can kind of like get your feet wet. It's super easy. You won't even notice you're doing a global shipping shipment because it's just going to Kentucky. You wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. And I do the same thing, except that I don't do first class international worldwide. We only offer first class international to Asia, Europe, Australia. So South America and Africa, countries that don't necessarily have steady tracking.
Yeah.
I exclude them. And I ship first class international into Russia, which I know a lot of people don't do, but I've shipped a lot of
I do too.
So
I find like the majority of them are going to Canada.
Yes. Yeah. And it's cheaper for them.
Yeah.
And they don't mind waiting. They realize it's going to take longer, and they're totally okay with that. And with the new EU laws, I think we're going to see even more people be concerned with that cost. So something to take into account there. But then that is pretty much it. Now you pretty much have a solid, straight listing ready to go. Get it done.
That's right.
Get it done.
And you were frozen for a second. Sorry.
Oh, did I freeze? Did I make this face? Because that's normally the face that I make when I freeze. I don't know how it happens. It's like some sort of magic, but that's the face I make when I freeze. So that's it for basic listing. We will be talking next about listing efficiencies. So how to list those items faster. Because the goal in this month is to make more money without having to spend a ton more time making that money.
That's right.
More money with the same amount of time. So we get our lives back.
Sounds good, girl.
Yeah, so we will be talking about that next. So if you have any questions at all, there's no bad question, there's no dumb question.
No.
Just put it in the thread. And then if you do @ in either one of our names, that will tag us directly. So if you have a question specific that you want to ask one of us, then go ahead and tag us. Otherwise, just answer it. Talk amongst yourselves. What is working? What has worked for you? What do you like? What do you not like? Those sorts of things, and help each other out.
And I second that with Cindy. No dumb questions. A lot of times if you have the question, 10 other people do too, you know, so
just nobody wanted to ask it.
Yeah, Cindy and I have been doing this a long time. So if something we need to expand on, or we're happy to answer any questions.
Absolutely. So thank you guys.
Thank you.